is Uday and I'm Joseph, and we are at Kanyakumari, the southernmost tip of the Indian mainland, where the Bay of Bengal and the Indian Ocean meet the Arabian Sea. We are at the beginning of a journey along the western coast, that narrow strip of land squeezed between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea, a journey that will take us through 6 states, over 1,500 kilometers, all the way up to Gujarat.
In this program, we will be sampling life along the coast in all its variety. Strangely enough, it is this diversity of religions and cultures that knits the people of this coast into a unique coastal community.
In today's program, we will see how this coastal identity begins in Tamil Nadu within a certain national context and then goes along the coast into southern Kerala.
To many, Kanyakumari may be the beginning of the West Coast. But if there is one spot in the country which encompasses the whole nation, it is also Kanyakumari. To many Indians, the sense of seeing India is complete only after a visit here.
सूर्यनगरी जोधपुर से हिंदुस्तान के पश्चिमी इलाके से आए हैं, बिल्कुल कॉर्नर से, और यहाँ इस कन्याकुमारी को जो भारत का सबसे दक्षिण का अंतिम छोर है उसको देखने के लिए आए हैं। और यहाँ पर आकर के हम बहुत खुश हुए। यहाँ पर तीनों सागर मिलते हैं, अरब सागर, हिंद महासागर और बंगाल की खाड़ी तीनों मिलते हैं। उनका बहुत अच्छा सीन, आप सीनरी देखिए कितनी सुंदरता है यहाँ की।
Mr. Paul is a Bengali and a sculptor.
At the same time, rock and natural view, beauty is very good. Swami Vivekananda is I respect, a lot of respect, just like a god.
To Swami Vivekananda, the sense of India was complete only after he had come to Kanyakumari. In the closing days of the year 1892, Swamiji reached Kanyakumari and swam these very waters to reach yonder island, forever made famous by him. He was not a man from the West Coast, but he was drawn here on a certain spiritual quest. This is the very rock where, just over 100 years ago, Swami Vivekananda first sat in meditation and then crossed the oceans to tell the world the sweeping grandeur of India's liberal spirituality.
Murali is from Sri Lanka. He has come here with his family, drawn by a sense of this spirituality.
Religion-wise, is Hindu. It's God place, yes. We come and see the sunshine here.
Another great spiritual leader, this time a West Coaster, in a way ended his life's journey here. Mahatma Gandhi's ashes were immersed in these very waters. A memorial to the Mahatma stands as a tribute within sight of the Rock Memorial. As we bid goodbye to Kanyakumari, the sun, now a huge amber ball, holds itself tantalizingly over the waters, preparing to disappear into the sea. We realize that nowhere else in the great Indian mainland can anyone get to see the sun rise from and the sunset into the sea from one place. Much of the coast is splendorous and fertile. Banana plantations, rice fields, coconut and arecanut groves paint it a rich tapestry of vibrant green.
We move on into Kerala. Gods and saints keep a kindly and protective eye on this part of the coast. How could it not be otherwise? Legend has it that the Lord Parashuram threw his axe and brought up this fertile land from the sea.
Religions have borrowed practices here, liberally one from the other, and then adapted them to the needs of modernity. spirituality is everywhere, and faith is on display. It can even be heard at Vedivechangoil. Travelers on the road from Kanyakumari to Thiruvananthapuram stop by at this temple and have crackers exploded on their behalf for a safe passage. Whereas not too far away on the same road, the traveler pauses before the holy Muslim shrine built over the tomb of Pir Sayyid Muhammad and gets a prasad of sugar and spice in return for his offerings for a safe journey. Kerala has always been a tolerant home to groups who have had to leave their native lands. They were welcomed here and carried on life in remarkable harmony with the local people. Whether they were the persecuted Jews scattered in the diaspora or the Gauda Saraswats getting away from the religious intolerance in the Konkan. This land has also been home to a small section of Tamil Brahmins who have retained their distinctive identity over centuries while advising the Maharaja of Travancore on state and religious matters.
The capital of Kerala is Thiruvananthapuram, whose most famous landmark is this little stretch of land and water, the Kovalam beach. This beach, which long ago became the celebrated showpiece of the state, attracts hundreds upon thousands of tourists here every year. But the real heart of Thiruvananthapuram is the East Fort, which is about half an hour's drive from here. Everything that is quintessentially Kerala can be found in the East Fort, whether it be Ayurveda or whether it be Kalaripayattu.
I'm excited, Joseph. Trivandrum is my place. Let us start tomorrow.
Thiruvananthapuram wakes up early. And for many in the city, bed tea means going over to the nearest Tattukada for a steaming kappa.
The majestic Ananda Padmanabha Swami temple is in the East Fort. Unusual for Kerala, this temple continues to be the private property of the erstwhile Travancore royal family. No Hindu happening here begins without an invocation to Lord Ganesha. Thiruvananthapuram's famous Ganesha temple is at Paravangadi. Devotees break coconuts as an offering to the elephant god. The close bonds that exist along the west coast is evident at the Veda Pathshala inside the East Fort, where a young Pandit from coastal Maharashtra imparts the Atharva Veda in a traditional building to his young pupils.
मैं तो आया हूँ महाराष्ट्र से, क्योंकि केरल में संस्कृत को बहुत मान देते हैं, इसलिए मैं महाराष्ट्र छोड़ के केरल में आ गया और इधर मैं बच्चों को अथर्ववेद का अध्ययन सिखाता हूँ। हम उनको पहला संस्कृत बोलते हैं और इसका इंग्लिश में नहीं तो किसी भाषा में उनको जो आता है भाषा उसमें हम उसका अर्थ बोलते हैं, इसलिए उनका संस्कृत शब्द भी ज्ञान हो जाता है और हम जो बोलेंगे उसके लिए उसका अर्थ भी वो समझ जाए, ऐसे हम करते हैं।
Perhaps one of India's most evolved martial art forms is the Kalaripayattu. It is a coastal tradition, carefully nurtured over the centuries. The Kalaripayattu is learnt over the years from masters by both men and women. The Payattu is poetry in motion. Kathakali, which literally means story play, is the classical dance drama of Kerala. Natural and impressive in gestures, graceful and rhythmic in movement, and pleasing in choreography. Kathakali ranks high among the Indian theatre forms. For themes, Kathakali draws upon the inexhaustible treasure trove of the ancient stories. Architecture on the coast is unique, having evolved itself to shelter people from rain and wind. At its most developed, it is an enchanting synthesis of the best of European and Indian traditions. The buildings of Thiruvananthapuram are regal without being imperial. There is nothing quite like the whitewashed facade of the Kerala Secretariat anywhere else in India. The brick red museum is poetry in stone. In a highly literate state like Kerala, the public library has a very graceful edifice. Every town in India has busy lanes and by-lanes, but Thiruvananthapuram's lanes are distinctly different from any other. They are quaint, neat, and aristocratic.
Trivandrum Lane, quite unlike the lane in any other city, is quite a peaceful place to live in. We can say that the lane also lives along with you. You walk into a Trivandrum Lane and you see that the lane participates with you in the real life. It helps you in constructing your house. There are building materials stored on the lane. It beautifies the lane itself by a lot of gardening facilities. And in the evening, the juniors take over. It's a football court, it's a cricket pitch, all combined in one. In the late hours of the night, the cookery building, Gurkha is there, of course, combined with the stray dog, the cat, and the civet cat from the neighboring college compound. The outstanding feature of a Trivandrum Lane is that, we make no reservations about it. We are all fond of large palatial houses. All Trivandrumites have palatial houses. But a narrow lane as an approach to a palatial house is considered a good enough approach.
Religions coexist on this coast literally and physically. In Thiruvananthapuram, you will find the coming together of faiths in many ways, with places of worship close together and in garish displays. Ayurveda is a way of life in Kerala. For most common ailments, Malayalis prefer the Ayurvedic treatment. But an increasing number of foreigners are also looking towards Ayurvedic remedies. Mark, a Belgian, has been undergoing Ayurvedic treatment at a private hospital in Thiruvananthapuram.
I wanted to come to India to have a cure of Ayurveda in order to decrease my blood pressure quite significantly.
Are you finding the treatment effective?
I think it is. I think it's very serious, and moreover, Ayurveda is a science which is maybe 3,000 years old. It's probably the oldest medicine in the world. It has been certainly one of the best ways to be cured about a problem like high blood pressure anyway.
The West Coast has also always been open to influences from across the seas. Anjathanga, or Anjengo as it is more commonly known now, is today only an obscure hamlet on Kerala's coast. It has a tiny fort encompassing not more than a couple of acres of land. But had events been only slightly different, this place could have grown into another Bombay, for that was how strategically placed Anjengo was. In the early 18th century, Anjengo was a very important military stores depot of the British and a vital link in their communication network. Most of all, it was a conduit for their spice trade. But after locals waylaid and massacred a party of Englishmen in 1721, the British began to lose interest in Anjengo. Anjengo never really recovered from that event. Many historians call this massacre the first organized revolt against the English in Kerala. The continuing intercourse between the East and the West is nowhere more evident than in the tiny space of 99 acres called Tangasheri, which is a part of Kollam town today. At first, the Portuguese, led by Vasco da Gama, came here in search of spices and ivory. Their soldiers married the local population and settled down here. The Dutch and the British followed, continuing the practice of integrating with the local population that the Portuguese had begun. Their descendants, never more than 1,000 families at its peak, were originally called Dubashis, meaning those who spoke 2 languages.
In 1937, if I do remember, the Anglo-Indian population here was 1,000. There were 1,000 Anglo-Indians. The population of Tangusari was 2,000. Half the number, about 1,000, were Anglo-Indians. There are just about 85 families. The others, most of them, have migrated for better prospects or more comfortable living. Not that India is uncomfortable, but for better, more comforts.
Today, the community, which has shrunk to less than 100 families, call themselves Anglo-Indians. Intensely proud of their special descent and yet feeling threatened in many ways, they now fight a dogged battle to retain their identity.
This community will become extinct. I'm talking of Tangusari. I don't know about the other parts of India. However much we try to keep the forces together, still there will be centrifugal forces that will try to split up the community. Within the community itself, sometimes there are rival groups, rival associations. Sometimes marriages may come into the forefront of the community. They may not be able to get always Anglo-Indian partners. And so, naturally, they would be seeking partners from other communities in India. And the children born of those communities, of those marriages, naturally will be losing their identity as Anglo-Indians.
A much larger Christian presence has pre-existed the Portuguese in Kerala. Deeply rooted to the soil, these early Christians are a strong and vibrant community all over Kerala, especially in the central part of the state.
We went across to meet our friend Anthony Tharagan at Thaikatacheri, an island nestling among the backwaters midway between Cochin and Alleppey.
Amidst the coconut lagoons and the backwaters here, they continue to lead an enchantingly pastoral life, as they have been doing for nearly 20 centuries now. Water is the chief lifeline here and the quickest means of transport. The coconut tree, the Kera Vriksh, from which Kerala derives its name, is ever present. Its products sustain the economic life of the people, Christians as well as Hindus. Coir making from its fibers is still an important occupation, one which gives a great deal of independence and economic freedom to women. The waters provide them with another bounty, fishing. Women go diving for mussels and shellfish along with their menfolk.
Anthony lives in a 200-year-old house on the island, not too far off from the waterfront. A house that blends modernity with tradition. As the descendant of an old, aristocratic Christian family that had been honored many times by the Maharaja of Travancore, his roots here run deep. Though Anthony has a job in Chennai, his fascination for Taikaticheri brings him regularly back home.
Simply because we love this place. We love Taikaticheri. It's an island and we are cut away from the mainland and we feel we are so exclusive. We are not touched by the hectic city life or today's fast-moving world. We like to come back here and come back to our roots, and Taikaticheri is a wonderful place.
Like many Christian women of Kerala, Anthony's mother still dresses in the traditional white attire called chatta and mundu. Like others on the island, she is a daily churchgoer.
We are in Taikaticheri, Tarakan country. Life here is lived at a leisurely pace. Mussels are harvested and coconuts are plucked and dropped in a leisurely manner. In these island hamlets, a whole way of relaxed living has evolved, far removed from the bustle of the city and the rush of the highway which passes nearby. Religion, like elsewhere on the west coast, is personal, and in Taikaticheri, much of it is Christian.
Christianity came to Kerala nearly 2,000 years ago. St. Thomas, one of Christ's 12 disciples, came to these shores and planted the new religion firmly in this beautiful Garden of Eden. Drawing heavily from the Brahmin past, the St. Thomas Christians, or the Syrian Christians as they came to be known, have kept their Hindu traditions and their Christian faith steadfastly intact down all these years. The west coast of India is truly, therefore, a fascinating kaleidoscope of people and places. And what we have shown you in this episode is just a taste of a small slice of this coast. We will be back again, therefore, to show you more in the next episode in this series. And until then, this is Uday here and me, Joseph, wishing you goodbye. So long.
So long.
Voiceover number 16. No Hindu happening here